supporting you in your dog parenting journey. The Dynamic Dog Owner with Debbie Potter. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Dynamic Dog Owner. I hope you are well and having a wonderful week. Don't forget our brand new Potter Paw Academy online hub is going to be available in August. So do register your interest by clicking the link in the description of the podcast. And it just means you'll be the first to hear all about the Paw Academy online hub and how you can receive training, help and support from us no matter where you are in the country or your house. So this week we are going to be talking about training. Obviously it's a dog training podcast, but it's not necessarily about how to train. It's more about the living with a dog and how to make your journey with your dog more successful. As you'll know if you're a regular listener, our podcast is more about supporting owners and helping you think a little bit differently about training, how to support you as an individual, how to help your journey be a little bit easier, but help you to understand your dog a little bit more too. And today we're talking about the time it takes to train. And I don't necessarily mean time in terms of how long, but we can talk about that, but how much time should you actually train per week? Dog training, as we know, happens. It's a journey. As you'll know if you are followers of us, we believe training is for life, not just for puppies. And we talk about the dog parenting journey. Training is a journey that takes time. You go through your puppy stage, their adolescent phase, their adulthood, and then their older and senior years. All of the time they are learning. And therefore we should be training. So training, what is training? Training is a funny word, isn't it? We talk about dog training, but training is training, preparing. We think in a fitness way, it's training for something. And training dogs is about training for life together. And so it's life training for you and your dog. And it does happen over time. We know results don't happen quickly. We know for many behaviours, especially when it comes to young dogs and puppies, it takes them a long time to learn what they need to learn because they don't have any experiences. They don't have anything to fall back on. They are learning everything afresh. Just like we wouldn't expect our babies to know and learn what an adult does, we can't with our puppies. So we know that training takes time in terms of weeks, months, years. But how much time does it actually take to train a dog on a weekly basis? So many people go to their dog training class once a week, and they dedicate an hour a week out of normal day life to train their dog. Now, that's brilliant. Well done. If you are committing to training your dog for an hour a week, either in a dog training school, virtually online, or just by going to the park and going, we're practicing this, or whatever it is you do to train your dog in that hour, brilliant, well done, because that is great that you are dedicating an hour a week to train. But is it just an hour a week? Is an hour a week enough? What is the purpose of that hour's training class or spending that hour a week? Because as we know, training happens all the time. We're not just talking about all the time longevity. Every minute of every single day, your puppy, your dog, your adult dog, your senior dog is learning. And therefore, we have to be training. So it's not just about your hour a week. Great that, if you're doing your hour a week, brilliant, but it's more than that. That hour a week is a good opportunity to learn new things. If you are attending dog training classes, obviously that's what we're going to talk about because that's what we do. If you are attending dog training classes, that hour a week is incredibly valuable because it's the hour a week where you get feedback. You get feedback from a trainer who gives you pointers, says, oh, why don't you do it this way? That's really good. I've seen this. They can give you positive encouragement. They can help you overcome things. They can tweak what you're doing. Obviously, you need to be open and receptive to that. It's not a one-way street. You have to sometimes actually talk to your trainer and say, then this isn't working. How can I do it? Why isn't this working? Because we obviously see what we see, but we don't know how you're feeling. So you do need to open up and talk to your trainer as well so that we are able to fully support you in that hour. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid. Trainers will have heard everything before. I promise you. You will not shock us Whatever you say, it will not shock us, because I can guarantee we've heard it, seen it, or spoken about it before, no matter how private the situation may be. So do open up and talk to your trainer so that you get that valuable feedback. That hour is so important for feedback. Getting feedback about your training, about what you're doing, providing feedback so your trainer knows where you're at and then how they can carry on tweaking the training. It's where you can learn new things. Obviously, depending on what kind of training class you go to, whether it's a fun sort of sport, whether it's a progressive general training skills, whatever it may be, it's where we can add in new skills and teach new skill sets to you and your dog. And it's also an opportunity for you to practice in those controlled situations, which are invaluable. So your hour a week is incredibly, incredibly beneficial. But as we say, it's more than just an hour a week. Because your dog is learning all day, every single day, no matter where they are, no matter what they're doing, our training has to happen all the time. Every time we interact with our dog, we are teaching them something. Even if you don't think you are teaching them. And it's not always necessarily about what we do, but sometimes it's our reactions and how we react to situations that teaches them things. So, for example, I'm going to use a few examples. When our eldest dog was a puppy, we had an issue that my husband would always say, he's not coming outside when I ask him to go outside for a wee. I said, what do you mean? What do you mean? What's going on? He said, well, I call him out to the garden and he just sits on the back mat. And I was like, right, well, don't you tell him to go out? Yeah, and he just sits there. I was like, right, okay, show me what you're doing. And this is, again, where living with a trainer helps. Show me what you're doing. And what was happening is that he was calling him to the back door, so calling his name, standing at the back door, and then rewarding him for coming to the back door, opening the door and waiting for him to go outside. But the treat was happening on the mat. So he learned sitting on the mat by the back door, not going in the garden, gets me rewarded. Now, simple tweak. So when he comes to the back door, don't reward him. Say out, which is our cue for out you go. Throw the treat in the garden. He was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And hey presto, our dog no longer sat at the back door rather than going outside. One of the benefits from working with a trainer, whether you are working on a one-to-one basis, online support, virtual coaching is so valuable. And because if you're working, especially with us, that we our one-to-one sort of coaching clients, we don't see them in person. We have loads of different programs, but this particular program, we don't see you in person for your one-to-ones unless you're doing group classes with us. But your one-to-one coaching means you have access to the training team in a WhatsApp support group, a private WhatsApp support group between our trainers and yourself. And you can WhatsApp us anytime you like, as many times as you like. So it could be once a day, it could be once a week, it could be 10 times a day. You can send us those videos. So when I asked my husband, show me what's happening, we can ask our one-to-one training online support clients, show me what's happening. They film what they're doing, they send it over to us, we give them those pointers. So it's a bit like, I say, having a trainer in your back pocket. But that little incident is an everyday occurrence. One slight, faux pas means that our dog has learned something. And we don't realise how we taught that, but we've taught them something. I can guarantee you that your dog will do things in the day that you have trained that you don't necessarily realise you have trained. So, for example, do they at a certain time go and sit in the kitchen because they know that's when you feed them? You've trained a routine. Do they pick up a toy and run and hide it in the garden or run into the garden? There could be many reasons for it, but most likely are that every time they grab something, you try and chase them. They go, hey, if I grab something, they're going to come in the garden and play with me, because I see it as a game of chase. You see it as you're trying to get this wonderful thing off of me. Inadvertently, we have taught them to do that because of our response. So they pick up something, we go, oh my goodness, you can't have that. We run after them, trying to get it off of them. They learn, one, run away, it's a game, or run away, they're not having this off of me. We don't realise, we see that as being a dog problem. My dog keeps doing this. We don't see it as that we have actually encouraged and rewarded or reinforced that behaviour in some way. something I always joke about, and I think it's quite funny, is that when I come in, my dogs get a little bit excited and then they run upstairs. People look at me and go, what do you mean they run upstairs? I'm like, I come in, they get excited, we say hello, they run upstairs. Why? Because normally the first thing I do is go upstairs, go for a wee. I don't have a downstairs toilet. If I did, I wouldn't go upstairs. Go upstairs, go for a wee, because I'm normally, I need to go. Or I go up and I get changed if I've been training and I'm in winter, muddy, summer, hot and sweaty. So that's the natural thing that I do. So they have learnt my routine. They respond to it. Did I mean to train it? No. Have I trained it? Yes. So our experiences that we are encountering with our dogs happen because they have been reinforced either by us, by how we're doing something, or the situation sort of environmentally that has happened. So even if we don't realise it, we are training them all the time. So we have to be so conscious of what we are doing. And obviously, if you're a first-time owner, naturally you're going to make mistakes. So this is perfectly normal. You can't know everything at the beginning. And it's always one of our things. We're like, oh my goodness, people just need to know everything for success. Because, like, for example, in puppy class, what do you do first? You need to know it all when you have a new puppy. And that's why online training and coaching can come in really handy, because you haven't got to wait another week to learn the new skill. You've got it on tap. You can binge watch it before your puppy comes home or while you're doing stuff, and then revert back to stuff. So online training works so well, as we discovered in COVID. But you do need to know all this stuff and always be thinking one step ahead, so that you aren't creating situations where you are inadvertently teaching your dog something. For example, my dogs, obviously they're retrievers, so naturally we pick up stuff. Whatever it may be, it gets picked up, it goes in the mouth. I'm I would say lucky, but I don't think lucky is the right word. Someone once said to me, it's not luck, it's a situation you have created. And I'm like, very, very true. So it's not luck. I am fortunate to have had the knowledge, there you go, that sounds better, to avoid my dogs not necessarily resource guarding, but not bringing stuff back to me and stealing stuff that is mine and valuable. So whatever it be, what are the common things dogs steal? Shoes, socks, toys, knickers, whatever, pens, remote controls. My dogs, yes, they may take that stuff because they're retrievers. They don't steal it because they don't really want it. They just want to hold something in their mouth, whatever it may be. They're not really fussy. Anything can go in the mouth. And especially with your retrieving breeds, or breeds that like to carry, so your gun dogs really, who have instinctively bred into them. It's really common that people can't get stuff off of them, that they run and hide with stuff, they chase stuff, they steal stuff, as I said, for that attention. But I'm fortunate that I had the knowledge from when they were puppies to never make a deal and to always be conscious about my reactions to ensure that we didn't create unwanted patterns of behaviour, which then will carry on. So for example, people will often say to me when I've got a puppy, aren't you worried they've picked up that? And I'm like, no, I'm not worried. Because yes, it's small, but we have been working on, you can have stuff, you can play with it, give it back to me when I ask. Or if I were to rush over, so say for example, my dog's picked up something small that they could swallow. If I were to rush over and show them that I'm really, really interested in it, they then go, God, this thing must be really valuable then. Say it's a pen, wow, this pen must be really, 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 really valuable. We're showing that by our emotions. If I go, whatever, it's a pen. They go, oh, it's a pen. Who cares? If I go, oh my God, you've got a pen, I need to get it off of you now. They're like, oh, suddenly this gets a lot of attention. Therefore, they're likely to either start chewing it up and try and ingest it, which is common. Dogs like to ingest things if they think they're valuable, or they run away with them. And then you're starting to get that lovely pattern of them running away every time they've got something. Instead, I ignore and I divert attention. when my dogs pick something up, if they happen to pick up something that I don't mind them having, that's not a dangerous thing, so like socks, I'm like, wow, what have you got? You're so clever. Look at your treasure. And they go, cool, my owner gets really happy. Every time I pick this up, they're really pleased with me. And nothing else happens. They're just pleased that I've picked something up. So there's no desperate need to rush over and chase them and get it off of them. Therefore, no need to guard it or run away with it. They're just really pleased. Wow, they're really happy with me. I might go and share my treasure with them. And that's where then we can start to create situations where I end up having retrievers who can retrieve nicely and bring everything back to me, because I have shown them from day one, I'm really happy when you pick stuff up. Let's share that happiness. Bring it to me and we'll have even more fun and even more happiness together, rather than trying to rush and get it off of them. So sometimes it's just being conscious of what our reactions to situations are, because we don't realise it. But if our reaction creates something that our dog finds reinforcing, then that's going to repeat the behaviour, whatever it may be. So, I'm trying to think of a situation now where we could reinforce something we don't like. I might have to come back to that. My head's not in a thinking mood very well today. As you can see, I don't prepare these at all. You just get to listen to me natter and whatever's ever in my head, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, say for example, our dog comes to the table. Here's a good one. Our dog comes to the table and is like, wow, you're eating? Cool, what have you got? And then they get a little bit frustrated, they bark, we feed them. They go, that was interesting, I wonder if that works again. The next day they come to the table, they woof, we say, be quiet. They go, I got your attention, hey, barking works. And then they may woof again, and then we give them a piece of our food to shut them up, because we go, oh, they're hungry. If we feed them, it's all about the timing. As if they bark, we tell them to be quiet. If they bark and we feed them to make them be quiet, they go, barking gets me stuff. Barking's good. And inadvertently, we've taught our dog to bark because of how we react. And I've done this with one of mine. It's a lockdown habit that I'm hoping we're starting to make progress in. So basically in lockdown, we did all of our training, all of our group classes, all our puppy classes live on Zoom. So I would spend about 8 hours a day on a Saturday, Friday, Saturday, and on busy days on Zoom, delivering puppy classes live, and training classes live. And I think a couple of times at the very beginning, when I was still a bit stressed about how this online training would work, my dog happened to be in the room and he would woof at something, and then because I was panicked and not thinking, I a couple of times threw treats on the floor as like a scatter feed to keep him occupied, because he'd barked at a bird in the tree or whatever, because I was doing it in my conservatory, so it was probably not the best space, to be honest. And within a couple of days, he'd gone, if I bark, she don't like it. And obviously to begin with, it was him barking at a noise or barking at something in the garden. He was probably, 3 or 4 at the time? 4? So he was quite young. He was 3. He was only 3, bless him. So he was still quite young, still at the end of his sort of adolescent phase. And then, without realising, I created a problem. And I'm still trying to fix that problem now. So 4 years later, I'm still trying to fix the problem. And it's a difficult problem to fix. He knows, this is the bit that gets me, he knows if I'm on the phone to my mum, to my sister, to people who I don't really mind, if the dog barks, the dog barks. He knows and he doesn't bark. There must be a change in my voice that says I'm in work mode. And as soon as I'm talking like professionally to anybody, whether it be, the bank, clients, he goes, she needs me to be quiet, and he barks. But we're working on it and he's getting much better. But it's taken, a week maybe to form the habit, and it's taking 4 years to undo the habit. Because the association at the beginning was obviously very strong. So without realising, my reactions, my sort of how I managed and handled the situation created a really, really reinforcing situation for my dog. He learned it very quickly, and I'm still suffering with that. So we all get it wrong. And the trouble is, it's really hard to practice when you really need to talk to the people you're talking to. So basically, I control and manage, and I avoid taking phone calls with him around. So if I need to do a phone call, I make sure he's not in the room with me, or he's out, so that I'm not making the situation worse. But then when I can, I try and train him to do opposites. So basically, we're talking about that it's not just your hour a week in class. Training happens every minute of every day. And you need to always be thinking, what happens in this situation? We tend to be, as people, very reactive. We see something happen and we go, I need to do this. And we react in the moment, not making a conscious not decision, but sort of looking at the situation going, if I do this, what happens? And therefore, we inadvertently create these situations and these habits. So training happens every single minute of every day, even if we're not realising with those habits, but also your actual training. So when you're purposely, this is kind of like teaching habits, I suppose, more than like training. When you're training skill, so for example, your lead work, your recall, tricks, if you only practice that once a week, clearly you're only practicing once a week. That's a long time to forget and pick up. So skills have to be practiced every single day if they are things like lead work. So basically every time you're on a lead walk with your dog, you need to practice lead skills. Consistency. So we can't just rock up to training class, learn a new skill for an hour, and then the next day go, well, it didn't work, did it? Or a week later go, well, it hasn't worked. Well, have you practiced? No. Well, there you go. It's about practicing in between classes. Basically, you get out what you put in when it comes to teaching skill. So if you go to class on the Saturday and learn a new skill that's going to help you with your lead work, if you practice on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, you've practiced 5 times in the week, by the next Saturday, dog goes, I know that skill. I know what to do. This feels comfy. You feel comfy. They go, this gets me fed. Amazing. This gets good consequences. Amazing. Then we can add in a new skill. So they've got 2 skills to help them. If we only practice once in the week, when the next training class comes around, they go, oh, that thing. Yeah, well, we kind of practice that, but I don't really get it. And now we're learning something new. Wow, that's a bit confusing. Is that different to the same one? Is it is it the same? Is it different? So the more we practice on a day-to-day basis, not for hours on end, for the important stuff, lead work, recall, they need to be really consistent every single time you're with your dog in those situations. You need to be practicing. Other things you could practice once a week, or it can be once in a class, for example. But the more you practice the skills, naturally, the easier it's going to be for you and your dog. And then you're going to see results quicker because you're being really consistent with your training practice. So it's not just about attending classes once a week. It's about all that in between stuff. And that's, again, where online work can really help. One-to-one basis, where you've got a trainer on tap, can be really, really helpful, because then every single day you can say, hey, I'm doing this. Is it right? Or we did this today. How can I tweak it to make sure we're not creating those bad habits? If you are training 1 hour a week and that's all you can fit into your life, that's absolutely fine. This is not a you must train your dog every single day rant, because that's not realistic. I don't purposefully train my dogs every single day. I don't have time, because obviously I work, I have a family, I have 3 dogs. I don't have time to train them every day, but training sort of continuation of our consistency with lead work recall every single day, every single time I'm out, without a doubt. But habits and creating my reactions to things we talked about at the beginning are consistent throughout every single day. So just think about what situations you've got at home at the moment. Have you inadvertently created them? And if you have, don't matter, own it. It doesn't matter. Just embrace it and go, whoops, did that. How can I tweak what I'm doing to just change that reinforcement history and change what we're up to? How can I be aware of my reactions and how they have a direct effect on my dog? Can I train a couple of times in the week to practice? And can I be really, really consistent when I'm out on a walk so that we get the best from our time together? And simply just being aware that training is happening every single minute of every single day. Learning, not only training, learning is happening every single day. Every time you're with your dog, every person who's with your dog, learning is happening all the time. So we need to just be conscious of what we're actually teaching, even if we don't realise we're actually teaching it. So hopefully that has been useful about looking at time and how it's not just an hour a week's class, and there is so much more to it, and how we can train without realising, and how our learning is happening every single minute of every day. Do check out the comments, link into our Paw Academy information so that you can be the first to find out about our online hub, and I will catch up with you all next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I'll see you really soon. Thank you for listening to The Dynamic Dog Owner with me, Debbie Potter. See you next time.